Welcome to the Sun Festival of Aquarius. During the month of Aquarius, there are 5 zodiacal influences. Did you know that? Now you do. There are 5 zodiacal influences. What is very interesting is to realize that the inauguration of the American president takes place during the month of Aquarius. This means that our leadership is influenced by these 5 energies. During last month, well, January, we're almost into February. During the whole month of January, I talked about the fires, the internal fires, solar and electric fires. I talked about transmutation, transformation, transfiguration, and then I talked about the rays. You're going to find all of these qualities working through the Aquarian Solar Festival, all through these 25, 30 days of Aquarius influence. So I hope you pay attention and you've been either watching YouTube or our DVD or you're here on Sunday mornings and you've listened, to the whole month of all of these various influences and how they're going to be demonstrated, all these qualities are going to be demonstrated through Aquarius. Okay, so here are the 5 influences of Aquarius. The first influence of Aquarius is the 5th ray. So what does this mean to us? It means that the leadership of our country, or if you have your sun sign in Aquarius, or even more so, if your rising sign is Aquarius, it means that you should work with facts and realities. Even if you are a Leo, remember that the opposing sign of Leo, the balancing sign of Leo is what? Aquarius, right. So there'll be some semblance of that energy, that quality of Ray 5. Even if you are a Leo, meaning that you want to begin to deal with facts and realities. When the 5th ray influences our life, we want to see facts and to live factually. The 5th ray is the ray of science. When we translate this ray of science, and you may say, like I have, well, I'm not an atomic physicist. I'm not a chemist, even though my son somehow has this several master's degrees in chemistry. I could never figure it out. It's got to be somewhere in the family, but not with his mom. But it also relates to science of the soul. Science of the soul, surrounding that science would be the human constitution. It would be esoteric astrology and esoteric psychology. So all of those categories would fall under the heading of the ray of concrete science. Now the second influence, so that's the first influence, the ray 5. The second influence is coming from Jupiter. Jupiter is the esoteric ruler of Aquarius, which channels the love wisdom ray. The love wisdom ray is ray 2. Jupiter ties human leadership with the hierarchical plan. It ties human leadership with the plan of hierarchy, with the brotherhood of light. Leadership must be fused with the influences of the 2nd ray. This is something that esotericists tend to forget. If they're in a leadership position, they believe that somewhere in their equipment that they are strong ray 1 powerhouses. But because of the Aquarian influence now, which is not just these 25 or 30 days, but we've about 351 years ago, we moved in, the greater zodiac moved into the energies of Aquarius. So that doubles the power and influence of Aquarius and Jupiter, Ray 2. So now, in the leadership role, all leaders have Ray 1 in their nature somewhere. It can be a sub-Ray 1. I won't go into all the rays, it's a bit complex, but they must balance it with the Jupiterian ray, which is Ray 2. Love wisdom is attached or fused with the hierarchical plan. So if we want a good leader, we want a leader that has a strong Ray 2 or Jupiterian energy with them. The third influence of the 5, so we have what? The first influence was 5, the second influence was 2, and now the third influence comes from Uranus. And Uranus channels the 7th ray. Under the influence of the 7th ray, ideals and visions and great plans are materialized. So this Ray 7 is very vital to the manifestation of the plan of hierarchy, the plans of all leaders, and also within yourself. We are living in a cycle in which most of our dreams have not yet come into incarnation, but they are going to come into being, first nationally, and then with our communities and our groups and our family. Because we are now in this cycle, this 2,500 and 250,000 and 25,000 cycle of Aquarius, just this amazing lineup. With this amazing astronomical lineup, you should have really been feeling a lot of energy last night. The energy of the exact full moon, it took place at 9, I think it was 39 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, the 26th. Now, if you're living over in England or on the other side, it was this morning on the 27th at 4:39. But you should have felt these energies, and you should continue to feel these energies for another 3 days, really, really intensely. Now, if you have faith, if you have faith, you're going to be able to channel these energies. And this is really, really important for us. If you are humanitarian, if you are concerned about the welfare of humanity, and especially for the leaders of the world, you're going to want to connect with, fuse with, and then channel these 5 energies of Aquarius. Bring them to the earth, direct them to the leadership. Yeah, direct them to the leadership. And not just the head of your country, but the leaders of your family, your group as well. Now, when we are able to do this as a spiritual community, leaders will be fortified by the energies that you are sending them. So even if they are not fusing with the energy, do you see this? Even if they are not fusing with this energy, we are sending the energy to them, and it will come into their aura, into their consciousness, and influence their decisions from an Aquarian point of view. This is why Christ said that it is so important to pray and meditate for your leaders. We must not only pray for our leaders, but we must also meditate for them. Now, what does it mean to meditate? You know, there's a gazillion books out there now, and many, many different philosophies and spiritual concepts of approach to meditation. In our tradition, the hierarchical tradition, meditation means to think. And in this case, it means as we are engaged in meditation, We are fusing with the energy of Aquarius and then channeling that energy. So how can we direct that energy and support our leadership if we are not fused? We can't. So this is why every month we as a group gather together. As a group, we fuse and connect with this energy. And then as a group, over time, over the next few days, we begin to channel and direct that energy wherever it is needed. And this is meditation. This is the importance of the Aquarian full moon. To bring yourself together, to bring ourselves as a group together and to support our leadership. But if we are not fused with these energies, then we cannot make them available to others to do something for good. We must provide that energy for them. So what happens then is that we are creating a reservoir of energy and making that energy available to those who have the intent and the ideals to help the human race. Isn't that beautiful? So many people today around the world, not just esotericists, but so many people today, and we're hearing them say, I just want to serve. They say, to me, the most important thing is to engage in service. And this is the way you can do it. These energies come down to earth if you really have faith. Now, faith is not a religious phenomenon. Faith is the ability to tune yourself with the energy or frequency and make it available for people so that they are fortified. They have the energy to work so that they are inspired and energized and unified, so that they are enthused. Now this is the effect of group meditation. So if you're staying home today, tune in and fuse with the whole body of the group. There have been groups all over the world that have engaged in the full moon meditation of Aquarius, starting about 2 days ago and continuing through today. So it's like we are stepping into that energy formation now and adding to the reservoir of this accumulating energy. Imagine thousands all over the world have been meditating during this Aquarian full moon. Imagine the effect and influence this has year after year after year as we accumulate Aquarian energy into this reservoir. This is the effect of group meditation. Now, the fourth influence in Aquarius comes from the moon. Now, the moon channels fourth ray energy. The fourth ray is the way of what? Harmony through conflict, right? Harmony through conflict. I always thought that was so interesting. Harmony, I never want to be a ray 4, even though I was as a kid. So I got acquainted with it. And then when I got into college, it changed. I was so grateful for that change, personality rate change. The effect of this influence on a national scale will be that nations will achieve harmony within themselves in relation to other nations, but that harmony will be achieved through conflict. See, doesn't that make sense? Okay. The conflicting forces are those forces that are materialistic, that are separative, that are hateful, selfish, and individualistic. But the outcome will be victory because conflict always eventually creates victory. The fifth influence in Aquarius is called the energy of Alcyon. Alcyone, Alcyon. Alcyon is one of the stars of the Pleiades. At the full moon of Aquarius, this star precipitates energy to our planet through the constellation of Aquarius. Also through the associated planets, exoteric, esoteric, and hierarchical rulers. This energy creates striving and ever-continuous victory over difficulties. So if you don't remember anything else about Alcyon and the influence, number one, it channels energy through Aquarius and all the associating ruling planets, and the energy creates striving. The energy creates striving and ever continuous victory over difficulties. So there is our hope. Victory does not mean to kill other people or to take other nations under our control. Victory means the victory of our idealism, the victory of our freedom, the victory of our love, the victory of right human relations, and the victory of peace on earth. That's Alcyon. That's the influence of this magnificent star. In thinking about Aquarius and Jupiter and Uranus and Alcyon and the Pleiades, as we begin to think about these 5 influences, what's going to happen over time is that we are expanding our mental space. We're expanding our mental space. We're expanding our spiritual space and the space of our vision and time. This is why it's important to realize that if you do have a vision, if you are a visionary, don't let it remain stationary. And the way we avoid it becoming stationary is through expansion, through the expansion of mental space and spiritual space and time. We create healing. Whenever we expand our vision in space and time, we create healing in our bodies, minds, and emotions. Whenever we are limited in time and space, now listen to this, whenever we are limited in time and space, then we become sick. We cannot make right judgments, and we cannot have right human relations. Isn't this interesting to think about? If we are limited in time and space. Whenever, on the other hand, whenever we expand our mental space by thinking about the future, we expand our horizon, and then we become cohabitants with space. It's so easy. Once we understand the principle behind this whole process, then wow, that's so easy. Instead of thinking that we are living on a planet in slavery, we think that we are citizens of the universe. We're cohabitants with the stars. These thoughts harmonize our energies with space, with the web of the energies that are sustaining the whole universe, because we no longer think separatively, but in terms of space and one existence. When thinking this way, we become, listen to this, we become healthy cells in the body of this huge manifestation. Whenever a transformation happens in our thinking, see the word transformation? Remember how last week and the week before we talked about transmutation, transformation, transfiguration. Here it is again. Whenever a transformation happens in your thinking and in your outlook, you heal yourself. Expanded thinking transmits to your body very rare energies from space that will heal you. This is not fabrication or fantasy. This is very real. Your emotions and thoughts affect the chemistry of your secretions. Now, doctors are saying this more and more and more frequently. They'll ask you, if you're not well, what's going on in your private life, in your personal life, in your relationship life? How's your life with your boss? How are things for you emotionally, right? Particularly if you're visiting with a naturopathic physician or a homeopathic physician, they'll ask you a question like that, because our emotions and thoughts affect the chemistry of what's pouring out of us. This is why we become sick when we think negatively. With wrong thoughts, we poison and eventually kill ourselves because we cause our glandular system to work in reverse. Now, what are thoughts? Thoughts are electrical waves. Think of the symbol of Aquarius, right? It's like that. These are thought waves, electrical waves of Aquarius. They go and fuse with energies in space and create either harmonization or distortion. Eventually, these thoughts find similar thoughts and create a chain reaction. This is why it's so important for you to begin to change any negative thoughts. As you change this negative thought, it then begins to change the chain of negative thoughts that have accumulated in the reservoir of your thought field. Your one little thought becomes a link with the universal thought system, making it possible for you to communicate with that whole body of thoughts radiating in space. Have you ever wondered why, when you had maybe a twinge of a fearful thought, 5 minutes later it was a little bigger? And then by nighttime, it was out of control. It was gigantic. Even if you were trying to stop it, it's like the momentum started. It's because you were linking up with that same fear sphere, that fear sphere in space. And there's this line of, action and reaction taking place until it just went into your bones and into your glandular system. So if you continue on with that particular fear, every day, it builds and builds and builds and builds until you become ill. Now, if your thought system is really pure and directed to a constellation, you create a lightning rod, which brings that thought system into you. Aquarius, these 5 energies. Thought is so powerful. When you have one thought, you can go to Sirius, that double star Sirius, mentally. If you become the master of your body with one thought, you will find yourself millions of miles away from yourself. Thought is quicker than lightning, quicker than sound, and quicker than light. That's thought. This is the secret of meditation and contemplation. So I don't understand when people say, I just can't discipline myself to meditate. Wow. Change that idea. Change that thought. And say, it's my joy, it's my gift. This is the gift that the universe is giving to me, is to meditate and contemplate. Real meditation and contemplation is the ability to fuse yourself with the sources of, in this case, these 5 elements, and bring them into your own system to cause transformation of your system. So this month particularly, at the exact time of this full moon, when we reach the pinnacle of the Aquarian energy, there should have been a lot of stimulation going on within your soul, inspiration, changes that you want to make, letting this transformation process to begin. Whatever you think about Aquarius, you fill your aura with this substance radiating from Aquarius. Alcyone, I said Alcyone creates within you an ever-striving progress toward greater achievements. It makes you want to achieve something. So if you're not familiar with Alcyone, go to the book Esoteric Astrology by Alice Bailey. Go into the index, and if you have the complete index, you'll find other books also that reference Alcyone. So the energy of Alcyone makes us want to achieve something. It makes us not want to stay in our skin and say, this is enough for me. That this is it. You cannot do that because Alcyone creates a radioactivity within you. Once that radioactivity is created within us, we want to progress. We want to improve ourselves. So if you find yourself intensely involved with wanting to improve, the last few days, you know that you are tuned into, fused with this energy of Aquarius and Alcyone and Jupiter and Uranus and the moon and Aquarius. Even if you are 90 years old, she's sleeping. Even if you are 90, she's smiling. Even if you are 90 years of age, you go to the university and start learning something new, and she is doing that. Taking courses. All zodiacal signs have their light. The light of Aquarius is called the light of the world. The light of Aquarius is called the light of the world. The light of Aquarius is a light that creates radioactivity in the atmosphere of the earth. Whatever is in the sphere of the earth, like atoms and cells and vegetables and animals and human beings, we are all stimulated by this particular light. When this light increases, we become more healthy, more happy, more creative, and more successful. Do you see why we want to fuse with this light? Yeah. When this light is absorbed by our body, emotions, mind, and spirit, we create a friction. Now remember, in the past couple of weeks we talked about those vitalizing internal fires were also called fire by friction. When friction is created, no matter how many pills you swallow, it will not help you because you are creating friction between two electrical systems. And this is a good thing. And I'll tell you why in a minute, but it has to do with purification. So you are a coil of electricity. We are, all of us, a coil of electricity. Our sight is electricity. Our hearing is electricity. Our understanding is electricity. Everything about us is electrical. When this electrical system is tuned in with the greater universal system, you will have almost everything you want. See, anything is possible, but you limit yourself. We've been taught limitation. We haven't been taught freedom and expansion. This is the meaning of prosperity. Prosperity means to hook yourself to the universal richness. In the word prosperity, people understand only money, but this is not true. prosperity means creativity. And this is what the light of Aquarius does. It makes you prosperous and radioactive if you tune yourself to that electrical system. It's going to make you prosperous and radioactive. Whenever you are opening to the light, you feel more responsible. If you find that your sense of responsibility is increasing, which means that you are able to make greater sacrifices for the welfare of others, then you are advancing. If you are not increasing your sense of responsibility, then the opposite is true. Then you are not advancing. The sense of responsibility grows because of the expanding light of Aquarius in you. Okay, I'm not done. You probably thought I was, right? We're going to go on a little bit longer this morning because this information is so vital to us, not just during the solar month of Aquarius, but on throughout the rest of our life, on through continuing lives, because Aquarius is so important to humanity. Now, Aquarian energy also has a few virtues. Now, I'm only going to talk about 4 of the virtues. But again, if you go into esoteric astrology, if you go into Symphony of the Zodiac, one by Alice Bailey, the other by Torquem Saradarian, you'll learn more about virtues. But these 4 virtues are a little extraordinary, so I wanted to share them. The first virtue it requests from us, Aquarius requests from us, is purity. Now, remember, the keynote of Aquarius is what? Water of life am I, poured forth for thirsty men. About 351 years ago, our sun entered into the influence of Aquarius. Now, that number of years, that number is subject to debate. This is the information that's been given to me, so I trust it. When this took place, when Aquarius, or the sun, entered into the influence of Aquarius, the teaching tell us that humanity as a whole started using water for cleaning and hygienic purposes. Interesting, isn't it? It is very significant that before this time, water was not used for cleaning. Purification is symbolized in Aquarius by the water of life. Water is a symbol of life because wherever there is water, there is life. The first thing that Aquarius wants from us is purification of the group life. Aquarius is about group, not about the individual. It's about group. It's about nations. It's about humanity. It's about hierarchy. So the first thing that Aquarius wants from us is the purification of group life. This means, for the group life, purification of illusions, glamours, and blind urges and drives. Now listen to this, because you'll probably identify with it a little bit. Illusions, glamours, and blind urges and drives under which we act and we talk and we dream, and then we don't know why we're doing these things. Right? So, how did I do that? Now we're talking about the group. All these influences of the individual members of the group go into a collective pot and causes the group to act under illusion and glamour and maya and these blind urges and drives. And then it says later, how did we do that? Purification is so important if we are going to be in contact with the Aquarian energy. So the more the individual members of the group, the individual members of your family, the individual citizens of your country and the world undergo these purificatory, I practice that word, purificatory energies of Aquarius, then we're going to have the ability to be in contact with Aquarian energy and to penetrate into the new race of the new age. And if you have studied Cosmos and Man by Torkham or some of the Bailey books, we are told that this new age is called the Aquarian age. The new root race is called the Aquarian age. We went from Aryan into the Aquarian race. So we want to purify ourselves so we don't come back into the old Aryan race. We don't move back into the old Piscean age. We want to live in the new age. The new race people will be those who have really accumulated the Aquarian concept, the vision and revelation into their systems and transformed themselves. This is why it's very interesting if you've studied the exoteric side of Aquarius. You have Uranus as one of the rulers, and you have Saturn as the other ruler. I'd always wondered why you have Aquarians that are defined as people who are born before their time, and then you have Aquarians who are so stale, so old age, so old-fashioned. How could they be so distinctly different? Well, the Saturnian Aquarian is still sunk in Piscean age time, where the Uranian Aquarian is trying to fuse themselves with this new age. Once we really drink this water of Aquarian life symbolically, when we take that water and assimilate it into our system, then our ideological systems, our thinking, our viewpoints, our imagination, and visualization go through a transformation and transfiguration. The second virtue of the four expected by Aquarius is telepathic relationships. Telepathic relationships. In the new age, the Aquarian energy increases. As it increases, we must start to experiment with and experience telepathy. So you know that you are right on if you have been and are experiencing telepathy. How do you know this? In telepathy, you can speak mentally and the other person hears it in his or her mind. That's telepathy. That's not fantasy. That's not saying, you know, my gut tells me. It has nothing to do with telepathy. When the other person hears you speaking mentally, they hear in their mind at the same moment that you are speaking. Sometimes you hear his voice or her voice exactly as she is talking. Or you see the picture in your visualization. This is one of the things we teach our speakers here in the group. It's not just presenting an idea or presenting a word. It is visualizing the words that you are saying that vitalizes. This is why sometimes people will say, you know, I knew ahead of time what you were going to say. That next paragraph, I just knew you were going to say it because they already heard it. Because a good speaker thinks about that paragraph or even a page, or maybe 10 pages ahead of time before they speak it. That's telepathy. So the Aquarian age is the age of telepathy, the age of intuition. Isn't this beautiful? So you see why I wanted to take up a little extra time this morning to share these ideas for us to consider. It is an intuitive, telepathic age that we must develop if we are going to be children of the new age. Children of the new race. New age, new race, both the same thing. Millions of children in the world, those who could be children of the new race, have destroyed themselves already. They've doped themselves, drugs, alcohol, things that still continue to shock me. These kids are finding new, weird ways to experience highs. And what they don't know is that they are distorting their mental mechanism. And in this kind of distortion, it's going to take 5 to 6 incarnations before they can clean up that distortion and they can experience telepathy. It takes a long time to correct the distortion. So if you are a parent, don't step aside and saying, well, you know, his friends are doing this, he's going to do it, I can't stop him. You know, be brutal. What do they say? Tough love. Tough love. You don't want them to spend the next 4 or 5 lifetimes undoing the damage they did. Just one weird thing. I don't want to get into the specifics of these weird things that these kids are engaging in now because it's horrible. It's horrible. It's destroying their lives right now. They're doping themselves, and evil got to them before their angel got to them. I know it's sad. If you have a spiritual diary and keep notes in it about your efforts for telepathic contact, you'll begin to build upon your experiences. Eventually, you can have telepathic contact because it is there. What is there? It's a radio system. It's a radio system that is completely in our mind. You must only put the system into action and utilize it. So Aquarian energy gives us the opportunity to use the energies and the potencies that are hidden within our nature. Now that's just 2. The third virtue is intuitional creativity. Those who want to be children of the Aquarian age must not create rock and roll and so-called artistic manifestations that come from their illusions and their glamours and their desires and their hatreds and jealousies and lower instincts. Well, they're already doing it. So we have a responsibility to wake them up by fusing with this Aquarian energy and radiating it to everyone. New Age art is going to come from the sources on our intuitional plane. Such art is a united art. It is a holistic art. Such art talks to the whole universe. In such art, the cosmos is reflected. We can see this in the artwork of Nicholas Rourke. Aquarian energy puts humanity in contact with hierarchy. So this Aquarian energy puts humanity in contact with hierarchical energy, and hierarchy puts us in contact with Shambhala. See how this works? All through Aquarius. But it's a dangerous thing, and this is why. The Tibetan DK said that when humanity started to come in contact with the hierarchy through this available energy, millions of fools and cracked people started filling the marketplace. This is what the Tibetan sage said. He said low-level psychics started to claim that they were in contact with Christ, with Santa Kamara, and that they could channel them, that they could talk with them, that they could bring heaven and earth together. But this is an illusion that is going on now throughout the United States and all other countries as well. This Tibetan sage says that it could not be helped because when the energy was directed to humanity, to link humanity with hierarchy, psychically inclined people grabbed the energy and started to transmit it through their own illusions, desires, and glamours. So the sage tells us one of the most important things that we must do is to purify the psychic atmosphere of humanity. People must not stand and deceive us by saying, I am channeling God. They must be clean and take a scientific approach to the teaching. Now, how do you develop intuition? Intuition is developed when you start meditating on symbols. I feel like I was given this great gift as a little girl because I was a musician. And notes, I didn't pay attention to the words. Now I had to learn words, but back in the day, these notes became alive for me, musical notes became alive, and I could see color, and I could hear sound beyond the physical sound of that note, and it just filled my entire life, with unimaginable beauties that later on began to dim a little bit because of the teachers and because of life as it is teaches us to focus physically and not so much spiritually. Fortunately, when I found the teaching, I broke out of that, went back into it, and now I really get it. And now, we're told about the flowers on Venus. Helena Rourke writes about the colors. Nicholas Rourke writes about colors that are unimaginable to our physical eye. When we begin to meditate on symbols, then our intuition is going to develop. I remember one year, I'm just going to tell this little short story. Okay, when I first began teaching astrology, just because I was daring and nobody had taught me to stay inside the box yet, I said, okay, let's take these planets like Saturn and Uranus and Venus, and they didn't know anything from the books about what these planets meant, or the zodiacal sign, the signs, the symbols of the constellation. I said, just write out what you think it means. Go home and dream about these symbols tonight, and then in our next class, tell us what they mean to you. It was, what a freeing experience that was. And they really came up with the darndest things. They were right on. Whenever we try to find the subjective causes of objective phenomena, we develop our intuition. Intuition is also the ability to translate. So, for example, you take a flower, you can translate it into music. You create such music that when people hear it, they see a rose. When you translate your concepts and dreams into creative expressions, then you develop intuition. So that's how intuition is developed. Now the last one, we're really going over this morning. We're going to go over by about 15 minutes. Can you handle this? Okay. The fourth virtue is group idealism. This is what we can expect if we fuse with the energy of Aquarius and those four energies besides Aquarius. Aquarius stimulates and inspires people to group idealism. Group idealism and group consciousness means that the separate frequencies listen to this, it's so beautiful that the separate frequencies of individuals become so close with each other that they almost fuse with each other. They become so close to each other, they almost fuse with each other. And in this fusion, their frequency becomes one. And then they influence each other whenever they think about higher things. Whenever a member of the group makes a breakthrough, that flood of light comes and spreads through the whole. When one sees a vision or makes a spiritual breakthrough, that person brings the light and revelation to the group. And immediately the group absorbs it. This is how we enrich and elevate the group through group consciousness. The most important thing for a group to do is to elevate its group consciousness. The most important thing for a group to do is to elevate its group consciousness, and do so by engaging in simultaneous and unanimous meditation. Full moon time. Eventually, the frequency of the minds becomes so tuned with each other that we receive the same frequency and distribute it throughout the group members. Hierarchical sources tell us that when such groups are formed in the world, they can send revelations and visions that are immediately assimilated and spread all over the world in the 7 departments of human endeavor. And this is how the externalization of the hierarchy and the influence of hierarchy will become a fact in our lives. Fact. Ray 5. Fact. Okay. We have so many people on our webinar this morning. It's beautiful. I'm so glad they're here, joining with us.